Hi, everybody. What I want to talk about today is if you're, as a CRO, now all of a sudden you've inherited enablement as a function beneath you. You're managing the enablement function in addition to your day job. What do you do? How do you manage this for the first time if you've never done this before? And I wanted to distill down a couple specific things that I would be thinking about. So, first and foremost, I think about structurally, are you set up for success? And I will tell you that enablement does best when the head of enablement reports up to the head of revenue directly. That relationship and that reporting structure needs to be as close and intimate as possible, because you don't want to have all the priorities and the initiatives that come down from the CRO to be lost in translation before it gets to enablement, before it gets sent out to the field. And so making sure that you have everything be in lockstep is so important. So I highly recommend, no matter how full your org chart is, find a way to have enablement live under you directly, not nested down beneath operations, not living in marketing or somewhere else or under a sales leader who really gets enablement. It's not good enough. Try and have them report up to you. If that is truly not feasible, what I would recommend is that you at least have them attend your weekly meetings. They literally have a seat at the table, and they're part of those meetings once a week. And they're a participant, and their voice matters. And they're also there as a bi-directional conduit of information that they can share back and forth what's happening in the field, and they can share what's coming down from everybody and the priorities out to the field. And so making sure that they're part of the conversation and they're set up for success. Really, really important. So the next thing, if you're owning the function, you got to spend some time investing to make sure that you're aligned on the priorities, whether it's for the month, the quarter, of the year, whatever your time frame is. Taking the time to make sure you're aligned on the what. What are we trying to do here? What are the priorities? What are the challenges? And figure those things out. And some people will build what's called an enablement charter, which is really just an agreed upon list of priorities, but having some consensus for everybody of what are priorities that we're working on right now. And that can change. It can be a fluid, living, breathing thing, but have agreement and alignment on those things. And with that, what are the metrics that we're going to use to evaluate the success of enablement? Whether maybe it's your overall number, maybe it's some leading indicators that you want to talk about that are important to judge that the business is heading in the right direction. There's no right or wrong on what those things are, but it's really critical that you have that consensus on the priorities and the metrics around those priorities. Otherwise, you're all doing your own thing, and that's maybe not the right things, not the things that matter for the business. That's really critical. The other thing that I would say is you, as the leader, want to invest in the relationship with your enablement person. What I've heard far too many times is an enablement leader will say, you know what, I have a weekly one-on-one with my CRO, and they've canceled it every single week. They've had bigger priorities. They've had deal calls. They've had their QBRs. They've been traveling for client meetings. All those things, and they're all valid things, but they've never had the one-on-ones, or maybe just a couple. And what I'll tell you is you want to resist that temptation. And I get that things come up that are more time sensitive, but find a time. I don't care if you're out going on a walk while you're eating your lunch. Hop on the phone and have a 15-minute touch base, see how enablement's doing, what's the priority, anything that's happening from your perspective you want to share with them. But really investing in that relationship, it will yield the biggest dividends. And oh, by the way, as a coach to them, as their manager, I would be coaching them to make sure that they're investing in their relationships across the organization. Because the same thing holds true. If they're not investing in their relationships with the sales organization, with their counterparts in marketing and operations and finance, then they're going to struggle to have real success. So as part of your coaching of them, making sure they're doing the same thing, but you also have got to keep investing in that relationship. There's that. The other thing that I think about, that if this is really foreign to you and you're not sure what kinds of projects to give them, you're not sure how to measure them, you're like, I just don't know what I don't know. That's okay. What I've had a lot of people do that's been really successful is find a peer of yours, a CRO at a different company who has a well-functioning enablement program, and just talk to them about what projects do you give them? How often do you meet with them? What do you talk about? What are the challenges you have? How are you measuring them? Like all those things that are bouncing around in your head, ask those questions. They're a peer. They're also a CRO and have essentially the same job. So learn from them. Because what I will tell you with absolute certainty that I always use the same metaphor, but enablement's like an instrument, like a guitar. Like I'm a terrible guitar player. And you take that same guitar that I hack away on, you give it to somebody who's a skilled player, makes great music. It's not about the guitar, it's about the player. And I think the same thing holds true here. The enablement person or people or team that you have beneath you, they can be played well to do great things or not. And that's all about how well you're playing the instrument. And if you need help, find a peer, find a mentor even, and how do they use the function? And ask those really hard questions of like, hey, I don't know, I'm new to this thing. Tell me what I don't know. If you can do that and get really skilled at how to play the instrument, you'll be very successful. And then keep iterating and learning as you go. Trust me, those are very important steps to success. Good luck, everybody.